everybody, this is Namanjan out with a new tutorial. So this tutorial is going to be the beginning of the inventory system of Path of Exile / Diablo style inventory system. So before we get started, sorry about that. Before we get started, I just wanted to show you the graphics we're going to use, and I'm also going to give you the link below. So that is the inventory system that we're going to be using. And where's the other one? Yeah, and this is going to be all the items we're going to use. So first of all, if you have not looked at my previous tutorials, it's completely fine. This is going to be a brand new series. Although later on I'm going to implement it into this into the content I've made before, but you don't really need to look at my previous series to understand what's going on. So first of all, we're going to work a little bit with the graphics. First of all, I'm actually going to take out the background over here, and I'm just going to give a link to you guys with the one without the background, so you don't need to do this. So now this, whoopsie, I should have done this before actually. Delete copy. So now we have what? So now we have a sprite sheet of items that we can use. So first, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna take any item over here. Let's take and by the way, these graphics are from Diablo, and so I'm just using them for educational purposes. Please don't use them in any of your published games, or nor am I using them. So basically, maybe I like this. Whoopsie, I like this one. So I'm gonna just take this in and make a sheet out of this so that I can use it in my as an item in my inventory as an item. Okay. So we're just gonna copy paste this into a new one, and we're gonna save it as chest, and we're gonna save it in our assets, of course. We're gonna go to Dropbox, RPG game. Assets, and we're just gonna save it in assets for now. And also the same thing for the Diablo 2 inventory. You have to import new assets. Gonna go to wherever you saved it. In my case, the desktop. Sorry, I'm just having a lot of tongue twisters today. So now we have the chest and the Diablo 2 inventory. So make sure that you check them as GUI in the import setting, and you make them trilinear. That just makes the quality way better than it is imported. So now that we have the graphics, we have a chest that we can play around with, and which is pretty. I'm actually surprised with that quality. Okay, sorry about that. And then we have a Diablo 2 inventory. Okay, so first off, I this time remember to actually zoom in the script, so I'm gonna do that. So first, we're gonna actually start off by going to the GUI object. So if you're new to the series and you're not following my series, what you need to do is you need to make a new GUI object. So just go to create empty and just name it GUI, like that. And I've already done it, so I'm just gonna delete this, and then we can go on to the object, and we're gonna create a new inventory script. And this is obviously going to be our inventory. It's going to be how our inventory looks like. And we don't really need the scene because we're going to be purely working on the GUI, so we just need the game over here. So we're going to go onto inventory. And as you can see, it is zoomed in for you all because you guys are awesome. Just kidding. Okay, so now first and foremost thing is we need texture 2D image. Let's call it image, and then we need public rect position. So as very obvious, this is going to be the image, and this is going to be the position. And to set the position, first we're going to go to this inventory system over here. You're gonna check the size. So on the Mac you do it this way. I'm not sure on the PC. It should be fairly easy. So 321 by 434. I'll just write that down. Okay. So there we go. We have the size of the inventory. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to our inventory. We're going to drag in the script. And we're going to say, what is it? 321, 344. 321, 434. Oh, sorry, we still didn't actually. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a new void on GUI. And this is where basically all the GUI writing should go in. So basically you're going to say GUI.draw texture. So this is going to draw the image. Going to give it the position, and then you're going to give it the image. There we go. So as you can see, it puts up a really nice inventory system over here and looks beautiful in my opinion. I'm really satisfied with that quality. And then what we're going to do is we want it on the right side of our screen and somewhere in the middle. So we need to do some, manipulate these two values over here with our code so it adjusts with the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an int frame x, or we're just going to call it x. It's going to be the position, x and y position. And remember, this is going to be the x and y position of the main thing. So what we're going to do is in our onGUI function, we're actually going to say y is equal to screen dot width minus position dot width. So basically, if you just do screen dot width, it's going to set whoops. Oh, sorry, this is supposed to be a float. And also we need to actually set position dot y. Oh, sorry, this is supposed to be x, my bad. Is equal to x. Okay. Or, sorry guys, I'm just being a little stupid, but you can actually, I don't know why didn't I do this previously, we don't need these. Sorry about that. So basically you're setting the position of the x to screen width minus position width. Now the reason it's not screen width is because if it is screen width, it's going to set this area over here, this point over here at the end of the screen, and we can't see the inventory. So it is actually this point minus the width, so it puts it over here. And whoops. And what we need is we want this inventory system to be in the middle somewhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to say position.y is equal to screen. Or we actually we're going to put it in the bottom right. I like that better. Or that height. Or you can do it as you want. Dot height. So this is basically going to set it bottom right. It's very similar logic to the one over here. And we might raise it by a little bit. So basically what we can do is I want to raise this by 20%. So it is always going to be above this bottom, so it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So what we can do is we can say we want to say minus screen dot height. It might be confusing, but I will just explain you times 0.2f. So basically this is saying, okay, we're going to take 20% of we're going to move it upward by 20% of the screen height. And as you will see, it actually moved it up by 20%. I like it somewhere over there. You guys can do it however you want to. I'll minimize it and put it in, yeah. So there we go. And now what we want to do is, now that we've got the inventory set up, the image setup, first we're going to organize this a little bit. We're going to say void draw inventory. And we're just going to copy paste this stuff over here and call draw inventory. It's just good coding practice to have different methods for different functionality. Okay, now what we want to do is, now that we have our inventory, we want to make slots of each one of these boxes, these slots. So first we're going to make a class called slots. So we're going to go over here, first we'll create a folder, inventory, and then we're going to drag our inventory script over to here. And so we're going to drag this test to over here. Just organizing it a little bit more. C#, and we're going to call it slot. So this is going to be each single slot. So a class will so basically, if you can imagine, inventory will contain slots. So it's going to have a 2D array of slots. If you don't know 2D arrays, I will just give a short description later. But if you really have no clue about it, I recommend you to watch some other tutorials. Okay. So now that we have that, each slot is going to have an item. So for that, we also need item class. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to create an item. But here's the difference. In our code, we're not... our slots are not going to have the item, but our inventory system is going to have a list of all our items. Now, I will tell you why in a second. The reason for that is because each item can take up more slots, so it does not make sense for each slot to have one item, because that'll bound to one-to-one mechanism like WoW or RuneScape. What we want is we want the inventory to have a list of the items, and those items will have the position in the slots. If this does not make a lot of sense, don't worry about it. This is just thinking ahead. I will code all this and you guys will understand. I'm trying to be more descriptive because this is going to be a little hard than usual. So first we're going to have a public list. Guys, before we do this, we need to go over here using systems.collections and put in .generic. So we can use lists. I'll explain what lists are in a second. We're going to have a list. Is there a list class? Yeah, there we go. And we're going to have a list of items. Oops, sorry. And we're going to name it items is equal to new list. Items. No. Oops, my bad. And so now what we're essentially doing is we're creating a list of item in our inventory. Now in our item, what we want to do is we want to actually make this abstract. Now I will give you a little lesson on what abstract is now. Abstract class. So abstract class is basically a class. Whoops, my mic just fell down. Sorry about that. Okay, so basically abstract class is basically a class that you cannot instantiate. So it is something that you cannot physically create, like how we are creating over here. We are creating inventory class, and we're creating an enemy health class. We can't create an abstract class. Now the reason you do this is you will have other classes which inherit abstract class, meaning that there'll be other, like for example, we're going to have food and we're going to have armor, which is going to take all the characteristics from item, because that is how it works. You have a main class item, and because food and armor are items, it's going to extend from item. This is called inheritance. I'm not going to give a full class because you can just go out there on YouTube and check for a ton of videos on inheritance. If you're still not sure about it, just go out and look for inheritance. So what we're going to do is we're going to have an abstract class over here, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a public texture 2D. Oops. And we're going to call it image. So every item is going to have its own image, and this is not going to extend mono behavior. And we also need to make it system.serializable. Serializable. Okay, so this basically means that because Unity will not show up these variables if it is not mono behavior, and for them to show up, it needs to be system serializable. You'll just understand in a minute. So each item is going to have a texture. It's going to have an int x. So basically, when you play, it's going to have a position in the grid. So if it is in the 0, 0 grid, if it is in the 0, 1, 2, 3. If it's in the 3, 1 grid. So basically each item is going to have a position. And it's going to have a public int y. and then it's going to have a public int width. So now width is basically, you know how you can actually take it, this item can take up more than one slot. So width is basically saying that, okay, this item is going to take 2 slots horizontally and 2 slots vertically. So it's basically, in total, it's taking 4, like a square, or I'm not exactly sure how many it's going to take, but let's assume it's going to be a square in the inventory taking 4 slots. So it's going to be 2 like that, 2 vertical, sorry, 2 horizontal and 2 vertical like that, if that made any sense. I mean, you guys, why does it copy? Okay. So you guys basically understand that. So it has a width and a height of the grids. In the grids it's going to stay in. And height. And now we're going to go back to slots over here, and each slot is going to have a reference to item. Now, the reason it's going to have a reference to item is because when we click and drag stuff over, we need to know which item it has so we can drag it over. So we're going to have a public item, and we're going to have a public bool occupied. So basically, as it says, occupied means if it is false, it is empty, and if it is not false, it is not empty. So if it's true, it's not empty. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so now that we have got a list of items, we need slots. And by the way, we're going to have a VR, never mind, there's a little difference. We're going to have a public rect position. So basically this is going to dictate where exactly the slot is for in relative to the frame. So if the position is going to say where the slot actually is. This is a lot of coding, so guys, you can pause the video and look again and again. Gonna have a void draw slots. So this is basically going to draw the slots, and basically now we're just gonna call it draw actually. And what is this gonna do is it's going to draw the item in the slot. So what we're gonna do is, as you can see, we have an image in our item. We're gonna say image dot, oopsie, sorry, it's item. What am I doing? Image dot, what was it called? Image, item dot image. Yeah. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna say GUI dot draw texture, and we're gonna call the texture, and we're gonna put in the position. So it's not hard, you're just printing it on the position. Now you might ask, we're putting a GUI call in a draw method. Well, that's because we're actually going to call this method draw from the GUI on GUI function, so it is still valid. And also I told you that you cannot instantiate item because it's abstract. Here we're not actually instantiating it, but we're having a variable which is item. If you want to instantiate, this is going to be false. This is going to be, you cannot do this. You cannot instantiate abstract class. It'll give you an error saying cannot create an instance of abstract class. So what we're going to do is basically we're going to have another class. We're going to call it armor. So this is going to be our armor. You're going to go over here. And what this is going to do, it's going to extend item. So basically this is armor is an item. That's what it means. It's going to inherit all these variables, and you don't need to write them here. So for example, I can just go over here and say, you can access image from here. You can say image dot do anything, or x. Look, as you can see, it prompts me x over here, which means that it actually contains all these variables. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here. We're going to say void perform action. So this basically what it means is it's saying this method, basically what it's going to do is when we click on the object, it's going to perform an action. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to make this abstract. I will tell you what that means in a second. abstract. So abstract basically means that we will have no definition of the method. It'll end with a semicolon. But all the classes which are extending, which as we can see armor is extending, needs to define that method. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over here. We're gonna remove void start and update. We're gonna say public override. So basically we are overriding this. We are redefining perform action. We're gonna say overrides, and we're gonna say void perform action. So now we are overriding the methods as we can. Okay, sweet. We have no errors. Okay, so now we have got this done. Okay, so now what we need is we need a 2D array of slot. So 2D array is basically a list of items, a list of objects you can have, and 2D array is basically it is going to be 2D array. It's going to be a two-dimensional array. If you guys don't really know what 2D array is, I really recommend you to look up a video over there. Outside in YouTube there are tons of videos. I'm not going to explain it over here because it's just a very off topic. So we're going to go over here. We're going to make this public. We're going to make a public 2D array of slots. So we're going to say slots, and it's going to be a two-dimensional. So it's going to have a comma. So we can have an X and Y position of the slots. And guys, if you actually don't know what 2D arrays are and have no clue, really please watch a video on that and it'll really help you guys. We're going to put slot is equal to new slot. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually have an int. Let's call it slots width size. I'm not very good at naming. Height, size. So basically what this dictates how long the 2D dimensional will be. So what is the width and what's the height. So for that what we're going to do is we're going to go to our picture and count the number of slots we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So our width is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our height is 4. So we're going to go back. Width is 10. Height is 4. Okay, so we got that set, and now what we want to do is we want to initialize these slots. So these slots are actually existing in these slots over here in this diagram. So basically we have a diagram of slots and we have an actual slot which is over here, and we want to overlap those slots on the diagram. If that made any sense. If it didn't, you'll understand when I code. Okay, so basically in our start what we're going to do is we're going to call a new method called void set slots. So we'll have a different method for this, and we're going to call it from here set slots. And in this we're going to go through a for loop. I'm going to call it x. X is X is less than slot width size, so it'll loop through the width size, and then I'll just copy paste this and make two loops. I'll explain why in a second. Slot height size. So basically what is happening is this is going to loop through each one of these. The first for loop, so I'm not sure if I've explained for loop before, but just in case. So for loop basically enables you to loop through the same code again and again. So basically here we're saying we're going to start with a variable 0, and if 0 is less than 10, it's going to execute the code over here. So let me just take this out. So it's going to execute whatever is in here, and then it's going to increment this variable by 1. And now this is going to be 1, and it's going to take if it is less than 10. This is supposed to be 10 as we count it. We're just going to put this over here. And if 1 is less than 10, it's going to loop again. And it's going to do that again and again unless x is 10, because then the condition is going to fail. 10 is not less than 10, and it's not going to loop anymore. So that's basically a for loop. And so we're basically having a for loop inside a for loop, which I just managed to delete. Because we first want to loop through each one of these, and then we want to go to the second line and loop through each one of these, and go to the third line and loop through each one of these. So very basic idea in terms of gaming. You'll use this a lot in the inventory system. So it's very important that you understand this, and this has to be slot height size. And what we're going to do is we're going to say slots x comma y is equal to new slots. So basically we are instantiating slots every time we go through. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to slots, and we don't need start and this is not going to extend mono behavior. Okay, and we're going to have a public slots. And what it's going to take is it's going to take a position of where it should be. And remember, this position is not going to be in the world position. It's not going to be in terms of zero. It's in terms relative to the world position, but in relative to the frame. If this is confusing, don't worry. I'll explain it to you later on. And we of course have a bug. I'm a little confused. I feel initialization cannot reference. Okay, that's interesting. Guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy paste this and put it over here and see if that works. Okay. Is equals to new slots. Okay, yeah, so just don't initialize it over here, but initialize it over here. I don't know why, but just do it. Unity asks you to. And we're going to send it a position. So the way we're going to do this thing is, this is the tricky part. So first we're going to have a public text. We're going to just make a public texture just for test. 2D, you have to make the system serializable so we can actually see it in Unity. We can see the variables in Unity. 2D, and we're going to put a test. So the reason we're having this texture 2D text is when we make the slots and we try to overlap them on this, we can see if they're actually overlapping on them or not. Now, if this is confusing, don't worry at all. You'll understand just in a moment. So first, what we need to do is we need to go over here, and we need to make a public int slot x. So basically, before I do this, I'll tell you what we're doing now. So now we're instantiating a new array, 2D array of slots, and what we want to do is we want to set the position in such a way that each one of them are overlapping on these things. So basically, what we first need is we need an x and y position of this, of where it is actually going to start. So basically, we're going to go over here. We're going to find out the x and y position. If you have not resized the image, you can just use the x and y position that I have just found. Oopsie. And I'm just finding the x and y position. I'm just doing this in front of you guys so you understand what I'm doing. Sorry it's taking a while, but hey, we need to do this to make an inventory system. And the x and y position seem to be 12/253. So that is where this whole thing will start. So that is where the actual inventory starts over here, this whole thing. So we're gonna go back. You have a slot x and public and slot y. I'm sorry guys, but we are actually running way high on time. So I know we have not got anything really working yet. We have just got a picture, but we are coding a lot of stuff over here, as you can see. So guys, stay tuned for the next tutorial. I'm really excited. Hope you enjoyed this inventory tutorial Diablo slash Path of Exile style. So guys, keep it up, subscribe, like, share if you liked this video, and see you guys next time.